Hello, welcome to my shop. I'm Chris with Custom Creative Carvings, back with another video. Today we're here to talk about the CNC and a couple of things we can do with it. Do a little walkthrough on some functions of it, or a little fun that I'm going to have with it. Now, normally when we think of CNC, I like to think of the massive either bit that's going to cut a 1-inch thick plywood up into little pieces all kinds of fast, or even a 2-inch planing bit that's going to surface a log rather quickly. The brute force, the massive power of mass production that CNCs provide. While I do enjoy that and I love making a lot of sawdust, what we're going to do today is the other end of the spectrum. Today we're going to go itty bitty. I don't know if you'll be able to focus in on that, but that bit right there is 0.023 inch diameter. That is a tiny bit. Shank, 1/8 inch shank. So that is a tiny bit. So what are we doing that we're needing something so small? We're getting tiny. A friend of mine asked me if I could take some mother of pearl, or this is imitation mother of pearl, plastic. No mollusks were harmed in the making of this video. And this guitar headstock, and bring them together. So I've taken a blank of this. This stuff is normally 0.15 inches thick. I took it on my bandsaw and ripped that down, rip that down, resawed I guess, down to, almost lost it. That is now 0.065 inches thick. So very thin. I'm going to cut out of that the logo that's going to go here in the headstock of the guitar, and then I'm going to cut the inlay into the headstock of the guitar so they can be glued up and put together for part of the guitar. So we're going to get into it. We're going to do a little bit of cutting, and we're going to prepare. Tonight we're actually doing 2 headstocks for my friends over at RASK Guitars. So we've got a couple of different materials here. We've got some black mother of pearl that we're going to have to resaw and cut down. This is an interesting material. It's actually epoxy that's inlaid with, or multiple colors of epoxy that's inlaid with pine cones. So they pour the epoxy around pine cones, and then they let it dry, and then they cut it up. So again, that's a little bit thick too, so we'll resaw that down before we throw it on the CNC. Just with that little tiny bit, I don't have a lot of cutting depth, and they are very fragile. So I like to keep the cuts as shallow as possible, not go any deeper than necessary. So to start, we are going to take this mother of pearl, this imitation white mother of pearl. We're going to tape it down to a spoil board here, and then we're going to run the program, and we'll get a close-up of the action from there. All right, so here we've got my spoil board. In this case, it's just a piece of wood that I've milled flat. And what I've got here is the RASK logo that I am carving, but this is the outline of the male portion. And so that will be what I'm getting from the mother of pearl. And so this will fit right over there. So what I've done is I've made some marks on the board to reference where it needs to be lined up, because my 0 is right in the center, and that 0 is ready to go. I hit go, and it will cut that right where I want it. And if I line this up just a little bit too high, see, I can see the bottom of the K and the bottom of the R. That shows me that I'm not going to have that as part of the logo, or if I come off to the side one way or the other. Now, normally I could just set it there and I'd be good, but I have to secure it. So what I've got is I've got some double-sided tape. So put my double-sided tape down, and that's why I put marks that extend beyond the range of the tape, is so I'll be able to see Now this is 3D, so I'm going to rub that in, and I may actually be able to see the RASK come through the tape itself. But you scrape that down to keep it from peeling up, give you the best contact you can. Alright, I can kind of see it, but I'm glad I've got those lines there so I can make sure everything's lined up. Now basically if I cover the tape, I'm going to have the vertical, so it's only the side to side that I got to worry about. So we'll get that centered right there. I've got that all covered, so that right there is going to give me a logo. Make sure that's secured nice and tightly. And then this spoil board I've actually got held in place, as you can see right here on the edge, with the Legacy Low Pro quick clamps. So that's solid to my spoil board, which I've got screwed down to the board below it. So we've got this ready to go. That is not going anywhere. Let's move the camera and then we can get to cutting. So there we've got the male portion cut out. Justin, will you grab me the chisel right there? Yeah, that one. All right. So now the tricky part is saving it, because it is very, very brittle, especially when it's, what does that say, 31 degrees in here. It's currently snowing outside. We're out in the shop and we don't have a heater. Well, we've got a heater, but it's an electric heater and it's very inefficient, and 32 degrees doesn't quite justify the electric bill. So we wear coats, we freeze. But ooh, that's pretty. And it's, the mother of pearl looks really good once it's all shined up. Doesn't look that great after it's rough cut. But let's see if we can get this thing off without losing it. So that should have cut clean through the tape and down into the spoil board. Actually, it shouldn't have touched any wood because the spoil board underneath the tape was already hollowed out from the test run. And because I have 3 I'm going to cut, I'm going to do this one. That looks good, just like that. Sorry, Robert, I'm going to leave that one here. That's going to be part of my spoil board from now on. Pour some acrylic and leave that there. Now, I'm going to leave the settings on the CNC machine the same and do all 3 in a row. This one, the blue one, and the black one. He's only got 2 headstocks, but he wasn't sure whether he wanted to go blue or black on the second headstock, so I'm going to cut both of them for him. So very delicate. This stuff does have a little bit of flex. It's got a ton of flex compared to real mother of pearl, but it's a lot easier to cut too. This was a about an 8-minute cut. I just sped it up, so it, well, I hope I sped it up. If not, you just sat through 8 minutes of very delicate CNC cut while Justin and I spray it with an air hose. All right, battery died. Didn't realize it, but okay. So got this last part off. So we've got it loose, and this is gonna go here on the headstock. Somewhere right in here, you guys get a little preview. So that's going to sit in there somewhere. That should look pretty sharp. So I'm going to do the black mother of pearl next. And so what I did, because I've got this mother of pearl that's way too thick, So what I do is I ripped off a 1-inch strip of it, so it gives me a big enough piece, and then I glue that piece down to a board or a stick, which allows me to resaw off a ridiculously thin piece, getting it down to the right size. So I can just hold that up against my bandsaw fence and run that through and get a nice resaw on that plastic, and not have to worry about getting too close to the metal fence or getting my hands too close to the blade. So it gives me really good standoff from the bandsaw as I run that through, and I can pick it up on the far side and just keep it that nice and firm. So I've got that resawn. Now we're going to take this and get the tape out of the way. Sure, now it sticks. Now this is actually a cheaper roll of tape. Normally I use Turner's tape, which is thick, sticks amazingly well. I get that from Craft Supply USA or Wood Turner's catalog. They're local to me, so I don't pick it up off the catalog. I go straight to Craft Supply USA to pick it up. And while it works amazingly, it gets it's like $30 a roll. So I got some other stuff that is just, I set that down and it broke. That is so thin. So I believe I saw this stuff on Stumpy Nubs and added it to the shopping cart. My wife picked it up for me for Christmas. Alright, that out here doesn't really matter. I am putting on a big blank. It's got a lot more than I need. That'll get me 2. But if there's no benefit of cutting it in half and doing it twice, I might as well just cut 1 out of 2. Or cut 2 out of 1. Cut it. Alright, this time I am not going to stop the video. I'm just going to let it roll. Alright, I hope I got that where it needs to be, because that's where it's staying. Alright, so this is going to be real time for a second, unless I fast forward it. I'm not going to cut it away. I'm just going to come over here and cycle start. It's going to bring it over here, ask for a tool change. I'm running the same tool, all my settings stay the same, and so I can run straight from there. I got a little bit of glue on there I should have taken off. So I'm going to let that run, but I'm going to pause it and pick it back up towards the end. And that's what you got to be careful of.
You broke the final piece?
Well, I broke the blank, but
did you break what's going on the guitar?
No, I was afraid the R broke right there. It looked like it did come up a little bit, but it didn't break. It is still attached. I figured with it being a bigger piece I could get it, but still have to just be real careful. So probably extra brittle because of how cold it is out. I imagine it heats up a little bit, but not enough to actually make a difference while it's being cut. Now with these little tiny inlays, you have to be really careful with, as you twist it, these bigger pieces breaking off your little pieces in there. So the black RASK is intact, And while it's a solid black now, keep in mind this is a black mother of pearl. So this will polish up nicely. If I can get it off without breaking the little letters. This is such just, and we are 0.06 thick, 60 thou thick. And if you look at these letters, they are less than that wide. So we're 0.06 thick. But the delicacy of that right there, that's considerably more narrow than that. I'm going to stick this in this little holder. There we go. I've got a holder for it. Fits nicely. Took a lot of playing around with the design. He gave me we used his logo. So that was a given. Had to start with that. But we went through a lot of different designs as far as how we were going to implement the logo. Before I got involved, he was just doing some V carving or laser carving. And before I got involved, he was just doing V carving or laser engraving, and then backfilling with epoxy. But that wasn't giving him the look that he was really wanting. He does an amazing guitar. I don't know if you've seen his guitars, but Robert Rask of RASK Guitars, he makes some amazing guitars, and I feel they're a little bit better than, or deserve a little bit better than, just an epoxy fill. And so started playing with mother of pearl and a few other things. And so we ended up settling that the black mother of pearl would be a nice, well, the imitation mother of pearl would be a nice compromise. Because the cost of the mother of pearl, the brittleness, and the machine time, if you want to cut in a mother of pearl, these little bits will work well. These bits will work well. These bits, well, this is the other box. This is my fret slot cutter. But I got these from Precise Bits. So this is my other one. This is a little bit smaller. This is my 0220. Ones I'm using right now are 0330. But I got these from Precise Bits. They cut really well into this. Before I got into those, I took the cheap route. And let's see if I've got these somewhere. I picked up these off of Amazon. And I liked them because they were cheap. I could get a 10-pack for 20 bucks. And they're, as you can see, I think these are 0.5 millimeter. Yeah, 0.5 millimeter in diameter. And it came with a 10-pack, so I thought that'd be great. You can see how far I got with those before I just gave up. I wasn't getting any cut into them at all. They'd go, just barely touch the mother of pearl, and then they'd snap. So if you're going to go mother of pearl, I would recommend getting a little bit nicer bits. Something, I mean, the difference is huge. These are, I want to say 20 bucks for 10, $2 a piece. These ones are 30, 35 bucks each. And I've snapped one tonight. It wasn't because of the bit. It was, I screwed up with the machine. I pushed down when I should have pushed up. Drove it into the spoil board. $35 mistake. Welcome to CNC world. So the question is the black or the pine cone? And I cut the pine cone down. Instead of leaving the smooth side, I cut the smooth side off. So we had the smooth side. I cut the smooth side off because I wanted to expose a second pine cone side. So on this side we got 3 different pine cones I can see. This side we've got 1, 2, and a little bit of a third one here. So I'm just trying to decide where I'm going to lay this against the logo to see what's going to be the best pull, best bang for the buck. And I think, unfortunately, it's going to be right there in the center. But this one's not big enough to get 2 out of. So that's a big part of what I do with CNC, is figuring out where things are going to lay best. But if I do that there, I'm still not going to get a second one out of it. So I'm going to bring this and put that R right in that pine cone there, like that. So I think that's the lineup. If I can do it that, it'll give the K, that stripe of the pine cone there, and the RASK right there. So I think I'm going to go there. Unless this, no, that's going to only give me the R. And I think that's going to be my best beauty for my buck, is right there. So just showing how, when you get things going, to knock 3 or 4 out at the same time, yes, it's 10 minutes plus each time. So it is not something that's just going to happen instantly. But when you don't have to go through and reprogram, you don't have to go through and remeasure or recalculate or reload or redraw, all the fun things that we do over and over and over again in the CNC world, it just makes it go so much quicker. Notice the simple decision is, which side where am I going to put the logo? Let's see, having a hard time seeing where it starts. Should be right there. Okay, trying to visualize this. Yeah, that pine cone going right through the R. So end of the R. Now this one's smaller than the ones I've been cutting. This one is smaller than the ones I have been cutting. So I don't have as much wiggle room. These ones I cut a little bigger, so I've got a little bit of wiggle room up top. As you notice, this one is 1/8 of an inch narrower, so it doesn't give me nearly as much play. But we get that lined up. Set this good one aside before I bump it and falls off somewhere. Make sure that's down nice and solid. Give it a go. Carry on. All right. A little bit of craziness going on here. I had to stop the cut after it got down through the plastic into the wood. When it came through on the R, it kicked the R out and sat there and spun it around the bit, and where there was a pine cone, it didn't hold together. So as it got down through the last layer of the plastic into the tape and then down into where the wood would be, it loosened this up and this started moving around and lifting up. And so try and save it, I pushed it back down in, tried to hold it down, but as you can see, this is loose. So I don't know if we're going to be able to save this, and I don't know if this is going to disqualify this material from being used. So it looks like it may be okay. We'll have to see how it fills out the. Well, that K is missing the tip. There's the tip of the K over here. So we'll have to see how it fills out and if it can be filled with a little cyanoacrylate. Looks like we've got all the parts, but not sure if it's going to be a viable cut. So it looks cool, but I'm guessing the pine cone itself just doesn't add to strength. This, I believe, is originally made for pen blanks, to where you've got a much more solid, looks cool, but where you've got a much more solid piece. Where you get these little tiny pieces, this just is not as strong as the imitation mother of pearl. So if you're looking at using this stuff for a project, keep in mind, if you get into little tiny, even where it was taped down, there just wasn't enough surface area for the tape to hold it. Maybe I should have gone with the Turner's tape for that, but with how brittle this stuff's turning out, I just don't see it. But we've got potentially 3 sets of the logo for 2. So glad he gave me 2 colors for that, because I feel bad if I was bringing them back with nothing for one of them. But we've got 3 logos for 2 headstocks. So let's move down to the other side of the CNC and see what we can see.